Improvement in Fortnite doesn't always look the way you think it will. We expect it to be obvious, we expect the wins to come more often, and we think we'll suddenly dominate every single lobby, have zero-death games, and rack up highlight-worthy clips every single match. But the truth is, getting better at Fortnite, or any game really, often hides behind the small moments. Moments that don't get recognized in the heat of the battle. Moments that feel very insignificant, maybe even frustrating at first. And because of that, most players don't even realize they're improving until they're already better. But in this video, we're diving into those special, invisible turning points, the subtle signals that you're not just stuck spinning your wheels, but actually leveling up faster than you realize. Improvement starts to show itself when your mindset begins to shift. Not your mechanics, not your aim, but how you think when you're in the game. A lot of players miss this completely because they're not only watching their results, they're counting wins, kills, clips, but real improvement, it shows up when you start making different decisions, not always better ones, not yet, just different. When you pause for a second before WKing the nearest box, when you hesitate before pushing a team without heals, when you think before acting, that's the first sign. It means your brain is starting to take over the autopilot. That instinct to reflect even for a second is the first spark of real growth, because once you start thinking, you start learning, and once you're learning, you're already halfway to becoming better. One of the most overlooked signs that you're improving is when you start losing for better reasons. That sounds crazy, right? But think about it. In the early stages, you die to things that make no sense. You run into a fight with no plan, get third-partied while standing in the open, or miss 5 shots in a row and panic. But later, your deaths start to make sense. You got sniped because you were peeking too long. You lost a box fight because the enemy predicted your edit. You didn't rotate fast enough and zone punished you. Those are still losses, but they're smart losses. They're the kind that tell a story, and when you start dying for reasons you understand, it means your game sense is actually maturing. You're not just pressing buttons, you're recognizing patterns, you're analyzing, and most importantly, you're actually capable of recognizing what went wrong in your game. That self-awareness is pure gold in today's age. Another way improvement sneaks up on you is in your confidence. Not cockiness, not ego, but that quiet, grounded kind of confidence that builds when you're no longer afraid to fight. Early on, every engagement feels like a gamble. You get nervous, you hesitate, your fingers freeze, but when you start improving, you notice that you're more composed, you walk into fights knowing you can win, not that you will, but that you can. That shift in mindset makes a huge difference. You take smarter angles, you look for controls you've never even thought about before, and you start playing with intention instead of panic. You stop running away from action and you start running toward opportunity. That fear that used to paralyze you in endgame, it starts to turn into focus. That's growth, and that's control, and that's what lets you take fights on your terms and not your opponents. Your improvement also shows in how you recover from mistakes. In the beginning, one mistake ruins everything. You scuff a tarp in endgame and instantly panic. You miss one shot in a 1v1 and your whole mental collapses. But over time you realize you're able to bounce back. You miss a shot and instead of freezing, you instantly reset and re-peak. You mess up a rotation, but instead of rage quitting, you adapt and pick up. That ability to recover, take a bad situation and still make it competitive, that's not luck. That's a sign that your fundamentals are stronger than they used to be. It means you've developed enough experience that your reactions are smoother. You've seen enough scenarios to stop panicking when things go sideways, and the more calm you can stay in chaos, the more able to actually outplay in the moments that matter most. Improvement also shows in the quality of your losses. That sounds backwards, but stay with me. As you improve, your games feel closer and closer. You're no longer getting stomped in the first minute of the fight. You're trading evenly. You're building, editing, and making reads that actually matter. The fights are tighter, the margins are thinner, and that tells you something important. You're starting to enter the same tier as the people you're fighting. Even if you lose, it's not a blowout, it's a duel, and when you're consistently giving stronger players a real challenge, that's your proof. It means you're not a free elim anymore, you're not a walkover. You're someone they actually have to try to beat, and if you're making good players work for it, you're already one of them, even if you don't fully believe it yet. Now, here's a massive one that people miss. You start noticing what other players are doing wrong. At first, you're too focused on yourself to even notice, but once your awareness starts to expand, you begin to see the flaws in other people's play. Watch someone ramp up without covering their back, and you instantly know they're exposed. You'll see someone tunnel into dead side without checking zone pulls, and you already predict that they're going to get held. These observations aren't accidents. They're signs that your understanding of the game is getting deeper, and that's a huge leap forward, because once you start seeing what others are doing wrong, you can counter it, you can punish it, and eventually you can even start baiting them into those exact mistakes. That's what separates good players from great ones. They don't just play well, they see the game in a different way, and analyze it in that same way too. You also start getting better when your warm-ups start to feel different. It's not about whether you beat the map, it's about how much smarter you warm up. Early on, warm-ups are just routines. You do piece control drills, edit courses, aim trainers, but you do them without thinking. But once you start improving, your warm-up becomes more targeted. You start recognizing your weaknesses and warming up against them. You stop grinding 30-minute edit courses just for the dopamine. Instead, you spend 10 focused minutes on the exact piece that's giving you trouble. You slow down on purpose. You'll build muscle memory with intention. That's when the habits start to hardwire. That's when training actually turns into improvement and not just repetition. So if you've caught yourself warming up more intentionally lately, that's no accident. That's a clear sign you're starting to train like a real player. Improvement also shows up in what tilts you. At first, every death feels like a personal attack. You get mad at third parties, bloom, shock and damage, zone pulls, anything and everything. But the more you improve, less those things bother you. Not because they don't matter, but because you understand them now. You expect the third party. You know the zone will grief you sometimes. You don't lose your head when your pump hits for 30. Instead, you look for what you could have controlled. You focus on what's in your hands. That emotional regulation, that's one of the biggest signs of growth. Not only in Fortnite, but in anything. Because it shows that your mindset isn't just reactive anymore, it's actually proactive. You're not letting emotions lead, you're letting strategy lead, and that's how you become more consistent. Here's another subtle one, your tempo changes. Not just your speed, but your ability to control the pace of the game. Bad players are always reacting. They're always a step behind, but improving players start setting the rhythm. They know when to slow down and box up, when to fake a push to bait edits, when to crank hard and apply pressure. That rhythm, that control, is one of the most powerful tools in Fortnite. And when you start manipulating tempo, even in small ways, you take away your opponent's comfort zone. You force them to play your game. That's a skill you can't measure in stats, but it wins fights, it wins games, and if you're starting to feel like you can slow things down or speed them up depending on the moment, you're not just improving, you're evolving into a higher IQ player. One of the most powerful signs that you're improving is when you stop chasing flash and start chasing flow. Get it? Early on, everyone wants the flashy clips, the triple edits, the pre-fires, the piece control clips, but those things don't actually win games. What wins games is flow, consistent movement, clean mechanics, and smart rotations. If you find yourself playing for efficiency over flashiness, it means your priorities are changing. You're no longer trying to impress anyone, you're trying to win. That means you've officially crossed the line from casual to competitive mindset. That's a sign that you stopped seeing Fortnite as just a playground and started seeing it as an actual place to win. Here's another big one, you become less reliant on external validation. When you're a newer player, you rely on your friends, teammates, or even random comments to feel like you're improving. But once you hit that internal stride, you no longer need anyone else to say it. You know, you feel it. Even if you're losing games, you recognize the improvement in your own gameplay. You catch those moments where you made the right play, even if it didn't work out in the end. That's self-trust. That ability to recognize your own progress without needing someone to point it out. That's a game changer. That's when improvement becomes sustainable for long periods of times. Because now you're growing for yourself, not for anyone else's approval. And if we're talking about long-term improvement, you have to mention this. You become addicted to learning. You watch fights back on replay, you have paid attention in ranked, you pick up habits from better players, you experiment with new strategies, test out different sensitivities, try harder drop spots, not because someone told you to, but because you want to learn them. That hunger to understand, that curiosity, it's not something you can fake. La pasión. It shows up when the grind becomes more than just grinding. It becomes a personal mission, and if you've hit that stage, you're not just improving, you're unlocking a version of yourself that's capable of becoming a great player. Let's pause for a second, talk about something important. If you're serious about improvement, but you're not sure how to structure your learning, there's a place that can help you out. The Flow Improvement Hub is a free Discord designed for players like you, players who want to grow faster, smarter, and with the right tools. We've got free drop maps, coaching resources, teammate finders, even pros who answer questions. It's not a paid server, there's no catch, it's just a community built to help you stop wasting time and start improving for real. If you're tired of going in circles, click the link in the description and join today. Now back to it. Here's the final sign that you're really improving, even if you don't feel it. You care more about progress than perfection. Early on, every mistake feels like a failure, but as you grow, you stop expecting perfection. You know it's a process, you know it's a grind, you know that every death, every loss, every scuffed ungame is part of the journey, and you don't give up. You don't burn out, you just keep going. That persistence, that grit, that patience, it's not glamorous. It doesn't show up in, once again, those highlights that you see, but it's the truest sign that you're getting better, because improvement isn't a moment, it's a mindset. And you guys got to like the actual experience of grinding in order to become a pro. You can't just want the end result. So if you've been doubting yourself lately, wondering if you're actually making progress, I want you to remember something. The biggest changes happen under the surface. They show up when no one is watching, they grow in the background until one day you wake up, load into a game, and everything just feels different. The shots hit harder, the builds flow smoother, the fights slow down just enough for you to read them, and suddenly it clicks. You are better. You've become the better player you used to admire. And it didn't happen fast. It happened in the details, in the quiet, in the grind. So keep going, because if any of this helped you out, please leave a like and comment down below your one mistake you think you have right now that's happening in Fortnite. And if you guys want to help support me, make sure to use code FLOWN in the Fortnite item shop to help support me and my channel. And once again, after you subscribe, if you have subscribed, make sure to click that notification bell down below. Click on it and set all notifications to all so you guys get every upload that I upload. I upload every other day. Once again, thank you guys for taking time out of your day to watch my video, and I love you all. You guys have a good rest of your guys' day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, guys.